Thank you for staying with us. Now we cross over to the broadcasting house right from Amboseli for a discussion on public-private partnerships. And today on set, we have Engineer Kefa Seda, the Director General, Public-Private Partnerships Directorate. Welcome on set, Engineer.
Thank you very much, Irene.
I'd like us to start by understanding public-private partnerships.
Thank you, Irene. PPP is there's a lot of misinformation surrounding PPP, and I think this chance offers me a platform where we can speak to the public and enlighten them just to understand what PPPs are. In simple terms, PPP is a contractual arrangement, similar to the way we do our traditional procurement. You get a service provider to construct a house, you get into a contractual arrangement, he delivers the house, and then he walks away. For this case, it's a contractual arrangement which is long-term in nature, where particular risks are shifted to the private sector, and all their payments or considerations are pegged on performance. So for example, you give a private entity to construct a road, airport, seaport. They are responsible for the design, they are responsible for construction, they are responsible for operations and maintenance of that particular asset. And therefore that risk shifts to the private sector. Additionally, and over and above that, they provide financing to implement the project. After the project term, the asset reverts back to government. And there's a whole process on how we onboard PPPs, from project conception, through preparation, through procurement. After procurement, we get into implementations, then maintenance, then we have asset handback, where the government takes back the asset. And there's a clear process on how we make decisions on when PPP makes sense and when they don't make sense. And that's where we have a clear distinction, where there's a lot of misinformation. When you do a PPP, there is what we call value for money assessment, where you have to do some number crunching and make sure that it's the right decision to take. Because many a times we hear people comparing the construction cost under EPC arrangement with the entire project cost under PPP, which are two different sets of numbers. Because under PPP, we include the cost of design, there is an element of construction, there is a financing plus its cost, then we have operations and maintenance cost. When you compare with the traditional procurement under PPPs, we only hear of one number, that this road constructed by ABC contractor costed 1 billion. So we end up not comparing apples for apples. And therefore, when we do value for money assessment under PPP, we look at the life cycle cost from onset to earn back, the entire lifetime, that is 30 years. Then when we do comparison with the traditional procurement, for us to make a decision that we have to go for PPP, what we do, we look what would be the costing for design. How much does it cost government to undertake design? How much from market prices does it cost government to do construction? Then we look at what are the financing costs that government incur in providing that particular money to provide the asset. Then we look at the operations and maintenance costs. The way we do business, we maintain our infrastructure, that cost is also inbuilt into that pricing. Then you do a comparison. Does it make sense to do PPP or we still public procurement? And that's how we make a decision. So when there's a positive value for money, that's how we make decision to go for PPPs. And PPPs applies in many sectors.
You've mentioned about being a long-term venture. How long is long? And then being a couple of years in existence right now, how far are we today? What have we been able to accomplish and where are we heading to?
If you look at our pipeline of PPP projects, where we've got 38 projects, which are in different life cycles, PPPs are not any different from other projects. We've got 5 key stages: preparation, procurement, implementations, operations and maintenance, then handback. You've asked around the duration. The duration is normally pegged on the capital investments provided and the time required for the private entity to recoup. The maximum term provided in our PPP Act is 30 years. So it can range in between 5 years to 30 years. Yes.
And when you talk about the 38 projects that we are looking at in all this time that you're having this initiative in place, how much are we looking at and how much have we spent already? Are we be able to bring in investors, considering that there was a concern that investors should come to this exercise during the initial stages?
But then you asked me about success stories within our pipeline, which I didn't respond to. Within the 38 projects within our pipeline, we've got 8 projects which are currently under implementation. 5 of them have already been implemented. They are under operations and maintenance, which means the asset has already been delivered. And therefore, what they are doing is to do maintenance of the asset for the term of the project. And these are cross-cutting from the road sector and energy sector. The other 3 projects are under implementation, and these are institutional housing and our defense forces and energy sector. So we've got success stories within our portfolio. The 8 projects we are talking about investments of in excess of 120 billion. The projects under implementation. First, for the projects that we are focusing on this particular financial year, I know under our budget policy statement, we mentioned a figure around 65, 70 billion, but I see as attracting more investments in excess of 200 billion. And this will be occasioned by one of our projects, flagship projects we are trying to prepare now. It's under evaluation by Kenya, Nairobi Nakuru Summit. So we see ourselves attracting this financial year in excess of 200 billion.
Would you mention that?
And if you look at the entire portfolio of projects under PPP, we are talking of number in excess, we are talking about 900 billion, over 900 billion.
Would you mention a few projects that we have already accomplished? And I also want to know, are investors already taking part in this exercise?
The successful projects which we can talk about, we've got Anyui projects, Lot 33, that's a road project from Ngong to Isinya all the way to Maroro, which is currently under operations and maintenance. We've got the road next door, Nairobi Expressway, starting from Lolongo all the way to James Gishuru. We've got Sosiani Menengai, which is contributing 35 megawatts into a grid. We've got the institutional housing, which I spoke to, under construction. We are yet to complete it for it to transit to operations and maintenance, where we've put up 3,069 units. We've got Lot 15, that's a road project under annuity project, and Lot 18, which is also a road project. Galana Kulalo, one of our flagship projects for food security and agriculture, is also ongoing, where we're targeting to put 20,000 acres under irrigation. As we speak today, we are around 4,000 acres, and by the end of next year, we should have put the entire 20,000 acres into irrigation, where we target to produce 720,000 bags of maize on an yearly basis and 160,000 bags of beans.
All right, Engineer, we are taking our first break on this interactive segment, but then when we return, I would like to know how far are we with the Gulana Kulalu project, and are the investors already taking part in this? And what is the future? Is it true that the exercise is reducing pressure from the government? Continue talking to us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. See you on the other side. Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. Tonight we are having an interactive segment with the Director General, Public-Private Partnership Directorate, Engineer Kefa Seda. And before we took a break, Engineer, I wanted to understand how far are we with the Gulana Kulalu project, being one of the key projects in the country, its economic value and job creation. If we can say what percentage people have benefited, especially those ones in that region.
Galana Kulalu is one of our flagship projects under the agricultural sector. And as we speak today, we had already signed off the project agreement, and in what PPP terms we call commercial clause. What is outstanding is achievement of financial close, where the private party attracts financing fully to implement the project. But as we stand, we had provisions for early works, and that's why you can see a lot of works going on within the Galana-Kulalu area, which, as I spoke earlier, nearly 4,000 acres has been put under irrigation. And as we speak, I think must have been early this month, and part of last month, there were harvesting that was going on. And we intend to see a graduation in terms of increasing the number of acreage from 4,000 all the way to 2,000 acres. As we know, agriculture is the biggest employer of our population. And we do contemplate, as it stands today, many people within the area are being employed under various activities to perform within the irrigation scheme. And I don't have the data on how many people have been employed. It's something that I'll be happy to share next time I come for this session.
What are the challenges that stand as we try to accomplish this mission of PPPs?
PPPs, in as much as is what we are targeting to implement for us to realize our development in terms of infrastructure, we've got quite a number of challenges, and the first challenge is on capacity. We are struggling with capacity within the contracting authorities, but the beauty is we attempt most of the time to handhold the contracting authorities in preparation, packaging, and structuring most of our PPPs. We also have bureaucratic delays, where we suffer from fragmented approvals. Within CAs, there are different requirements for approvals, and these delays the process. But we are trying to see how we can streamline some of these processes, where we engage some of these institutions or entities early in advance. So if you're dealing with a contracting authority, then the regulator must also be onboarded in time, such that when you're taking through the process, they are part and parcel of this to reduce delays when we go for approvals.
Do you think this is a mission that will be able to accomplish what it wants to accomplish by the period that it's given?
Definitely, PPP is a go-to. As we speak, we have a Vision 2030. We only have 5 years remaining. Are we there yet? The answer is no. We've got quite a number of infrastructure that we need to put in place. Looking at our fiscal space, we don't have wiggle room for development, which are capital intensive. So where do we look into? We look at alternative financing. And that's where PPP come in handy to help us in delivering some of this infrastructure that we require as a country. At
what percentage do we have investors in place?
Investors are involved throughout. When we package a project, what we do first is to do market sounding, just to test if at all they've got appetite in the projects that we've packaged. So we do market sounding. They give us feedback on what they think the projects look like in terms of structuring and everything else. They also look at our legal and regulatory frameworks. If at all there are any changes they'd want us to make, they also make such proposals. Then we go restructure and take the projects back to the market. And that's not the end of engagement with investors. Once we take the projects to the market, there are always avenues where we exchange on how we can make the projects much better and even increase their appetite for investments.
We're talking about public-private partnership initiatives here. How is the public being involved? Are they very key in decision makings in these projects?
Definitely. For any public investments, you have to engage the public. In many of our projects, we undertake public participation because it is their right. They need to know what solutions we want to solve. And we must incorporate whatever they are saying into our project's design. And that's something that is continuous. From concept, we have to engage. During feasibility, we have to engage. During procurement, we have an obligation as a government to make disclosure because we want to be as transparent as possible so that we can win public trust. Yeah.
And when we look at the transparency measures, has the government done its best to ensure that the public is confident in these projects? This, as we come to the close, as you come up with your words, your parting shots.
If you look at the different procurement methods that we have under the contract, under the Act, we've got 2 government-initiated and the private sector initiated. Where government initiates, there are normally relevant disclosures that are made. At feasibility, the approvals that are made, we disclose. We sign contract, disclosures are made. The only gray area we had was this for private initiatives, where they bring their proposals to us. And if you do recall, in April, we did issue guidelines for disclosures for this privately initiated after the Adani deal, just as part of our lessons learned. And what we've put in place now, any privately initiated proposal that comes, the contracting authority must make that disclosure publicly in their website, and we will put in the newspapers for public to appreciate what is it that has come through, what is government doing. Whenever there are any key decisions point, the contracting authority has the mandate, the obligation to make disclosure, just for the public to appreciate what's going on.
Thank you so much. We have been having on set Engineer Kefa Seda, Director General, Public-Private Partnership Directorate, and we have talked about the initiative that many Kenyans are expecting to improve the development of the country. Thank you for having you with us, sir.
Thank you, Irene, for having me. Looking forward to coming back here again.